Hello, 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 hello. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Nice to have you with us. I'm joined today. I'm going to do the pointing wrong. No, I'm not. I'm going to get it right. It's Greg. It's Greg Zakowicz from Omnisend. How you doing, Greg? Can you hear me? Greg appears not to be able to hear me. Well, this is going to go well. Greg and I had audio problems prior to starting this, and it would appear that Greg has rediscovered some audio problems. Greg, I'm going to waffle on with the usual stuff. If you refresh, and we'll see if we can drag you back in. Otherwise, this is going to be excellent. You're going to have to mime the entire webinar. Okay, let's see how this goes. Hopefully, Greg will be back very, very soon. The intention today is to have a discussion with Greg, who is representing Omnisend. He's in their fabulous offices over there. Let's see if he can hear me now. He's brought himself back into the call. Can you hear me, Greg?
So I've got your speaker on my computer. For some reason, when we get back, it disconnected my audio here. So I've got a worst case scenario, but let's see if I could fix this real quick.
Okay, that's fine. I'll keep talking. No worries. If at some point you discover that it's all working, just give us a thumbs up or something like that. Yeah. So as I was saying, Greg is representing Omnisend, which is a email marketing and SMS platform. They're sort of pushing very much into the WordPress space in the latter part of 2023 and in 2024. I think the endeavor is to do the same thing. If this webinar does in fact carry on, this is what you'd need to do. Drive your friends, relations, colleagues over to this URL, wpbuilds.com/live. Once more, wpbuilds.com/live. If you do that, then you can comment and you can ask Greg questions or ask me questions if you like. Getting Greg's base, not much I can do about that, so I'm just going to keep going. And if you go to that page, the box on the right is YouTube comments. So you have to be logged into a Google account. Alternatively, if you go to that page, at the top of the video, top right of the video, is a little box which says live chat. And you can click on that and you can be completely anonymous and comment from there instead. The other thing to say is if you're joining us on Facebook, they don't allow us to see who you are unless you go through this little hoop. The hoop is to go to wave.video/lives/Facebook. And you have to authorize the platform wave.video to enable us to see you. So there we go. Right. There, enough waffle. Greg, can you hear me?
So I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's all working now.
Okay.
So, and do you know what? Coincidentally, that was the padding I was going to do anyway. So we've kind of ended up at the perfect. We got a little bit of fun bass music along the way as you're trying things out.
So what's interesting is I never have problems at home. I've got a professional setup here in the office, and all of a sudden it doesn't work. So but I look good. I look good, right?
Too many bells, too many whistles. Yeah, the office setup. I've got to say, the office setup is pretty impressive. So where is the office? You are not, I don't think, from where it is, but yeah.
No. So I am based in Durham, North Carolina. Right now I am in Vilnius, Lithuania, which is the capital of Lithuania. Beautiful city. Been here. This is my third time here now, and I absolutely love coming here.
Yeah. So I think probably we need to spend a little bit of time just orientating ourselves around Omnisend. So Omnisend is it's an email and SMS marketing platform. Greg can tell us more about it in a moment. But as I said in the introduction, a big push into the WordPress space. I think Omnisend have realized at some point in the fairly recent past, last few years, that WordPress and Omnisend would be really good companions, if you know what I mean. And so just tell us a little bit about Omnisend, what it is that they do, so that we can just figure out what the company's all about.
Yep. And I threw some slides up for you as well.
Thank you.
If it's helpful for anyone here. So I'm not going to read these bullet points. So we're an email and SMS marketing platform. And we've got a plugin integration, built-in integration with WordPress and WooCommerce here. So obviously we're talking about WooCommerce customers and stuff there. So just kind of give you scope. We've been in business for a long time. We have 100,000 customers.
Wow.
And pretty much all the tools you can imagine. So if you think about enterprise level email and SMS providers, we have all the same tools they do. We just a fraction of the cost here. So if you talk about templatizing, say, automated workflows, and we'll talk about why that's important today. but automation, templated segments. So you can just copy and create segments right there for you. All the A/B testing you could imagine, sign up forms, kind of soup to nuts marketing for you. And that's what we're here. And we pride ourselves in our customer support. We pride ourselves on being people here, which is why I love coming here. But we've got 24/7, 365 support, even for our free customers. So you can sign up for free, no credit card required, and paid plans for when you need them. But our free customers get all the love that everyone else gets.
Do you have? Was I right in my intuition there? Is it a big part of the company push in the year 2024 is to align themselves a little bit more with WordPress and push the WordPress plugin, which obviously links into WooCommerce? Is that a big focus?
It really is. So I'm sure WordPress people feel this all the time, right? It's a very tight-knit community, which is kind of cool. WooCommerce, very much the same thing. But I would say WooCommerce is one of those ones that, you talk about the likes of Shopify and stuff, and we're great partners with them as well. But WooCommerce always seems to be like, they get the little man's treatment a little bit, you know what I mean? So, because it's very niche in that community. But, we're getting more and more Woo customers coming in, and it's just one of these things that we figure, it makes sense. Our customers coming to us, they're asking us for help. We're providing the help for them. And like, hey, you know what? We're a really good fit for this audience here. And we're continuing to take feedback from WooCommerce customers and WordPress customers on how to make that better. But it is a bigger focus for us this year. So you'll probably be seeing us around a lot more.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that 2024 and live events, WordPress events, and things like podcasts and things like that are going to be an area where you overlap and you try to get your message out a little bit. Obviously, today we're going to be talking about WooCommerce, and we've got some little bullet point items that we're going to go through. But just before we begin that, and again, forgive me for sort of putting my foot in my mouth a little bit here, I had this kind of intuition that email was a bit of a dead thing, that nobody was reading the emails anymore, and that, everybody got sick and tired of it. But obviously, a company like you wouldn't be in business if that were true.
That is true.
Yeah, you wouldn't be growing if that were true. So just set the record straight. I'm going to take the first one here. Give us the sort of 2023 and going into 2024. Tell us about the sort of trends and highlights in the email marketing, in the SMS and push channel. I noticed there as well. Give us the skinny on what's going on.
Yeah. So let's just kind of throw this up here. Nathan, I'm sure you told your audience, we're going to have more of a conversation today. I'll put some of these slides together just for some background visuals as we're chatting here. So we have a stats report coming out next week. It's ungated, so we make these available to anyone if they just want to check them out and kind of see how they're shaping against their own industry and stuff like that from an email standpoint. But right, that's the narrative. It's been the narrative. I've been in email over 18 years, and the narrative over the last 10, 12 years is exactly what you said. It's like, oh, email is dead. It's a dinosaur in the group. And ultimately what we're seeing is more brands are leaning into it. Metrics are going up. More customers are coming to it, and it's just trusted, right? Everyone emails. It is a trusted channel. It's an easy place to kind of sign up for emails and check for product discovery and things like that. And SMS, I've talked about it for a long time, but the last couple of years, we've kind of seen that tipping point where the pushback was always, it's a little more intrusive than email is, right? Email can be a little more anonymous, if you will. Everyone's on their phone all the time or has it right there in their pocket or right next to them. And the SMS seems intimate, but I push back against the intimacy thing now because everyone texts, right? Any adult texts, any teenager for the most part texts nowadays. So once that started being adopted, the conversation shifted to, well, it's only for young people. It's a generational cohort type thing. And I'll tell you right now, everyone texts and everyone gets marketing text. So I tell this story now. I've been telling it for probably 2 years, but a couple of years ago, I was visiting my mother, and I'm laying on the couch. It's just kind of a lazy Sunday afternoon at her phone because I love her to death. Right? She's old. So her phone is like blowing up and beeping every single time anything happens, right? And I'm getting like beep, bing, bing, bing. And I'm like, there's no way someone's texting her without her responding to all these things. And they're marketing messages from brands. And she is not a technology adopter. She's like the old, the last one to the race. And she's like, and she, of course, she's reading them out loud because that's what she does. So she's like, blah, 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 15% off today or whatever. And then she's clicking on them. And to me, it was kind of an epiphany going, I've been talking about like generational cohorts. You should ignore them a little bit anyways. And this was the epiphany for me going, no, everyone really does text now. And this is kind of the up and coming channel, and brands are leaning into it. They've recognized it. But email is probably strong as it's ever been that I've noticed. And SMS is now to the point where if you're not doing it, you're behind. It's not too late, but you're on that cusp of kind of missing the boat on that a little bit.
I have some intuitions of my own here, and that is that of all the things that have come in and out of my life that could be called messaging, so you could encapsulate Facebook Messenger, you can encapsulate anything. The only one which hasn't altered in any way is email. It's like the stalwart. It's always there, and it's literally the only one that I will open up every single day. I also have this other intuition that my kids, who are a bit younger, they don't have that same relationship with WordPress. But I'm more or less gonna stake my house on the fact that as soon as they step into the workplace, one of the first things the boss is going to do is get them an email account, because that's how most people communicate. And so I get it. It's still thriving. It's still a thing. It's still reliable. It's still trustworthy. And I'm basically opening email every single morning.
Yeah, and I think the one thing where people look at is you think about like productivity apps in the workplace, like Slack, and people, like Slack rolled out, they're like, oh, it's going to kill email, right? At least from a business perspective. And it hasn't, right? There's a place for both of those. And I think that's the one thing that people, they either look for the either or. It's either dead or it's thriving. And there's never any thought to that middle ground. It's like, hey, there is a place for this. Like there's a place for Facebook and Instagram marketing. There's a place for TikTok marketing. It doesn't have to be email, or it could be email and, right? And I think that's the one thing that people overlook, and it's where these kind of false narratives always fall in. It's got to be to the extremes. And the fact is, it's not extremes. There's room for all of them in here. But you're right. Your kids are going to go into the workplace. Yeah. And they could be the biggest Slack users in the world. Yeah. They need the email address, right? They need the email address.
Yeah. There's almost no business. I mean, you don't go into a business and the person behind the counter, when you've bought something, they don't ask for your TikTok account. They want their email. They want your email address off you, right? Because they know that that's a reliable thing to get you at 24/7. So that's kind of
yeah. And if you think about it, like if you go back 7-8 years, that was maybe 10. Everything is compressed for me. My wife teases me about this all the time, but she's like, everything's 3 years ago for you. But like there was a short period of time where people wanted to collect Twitter handles, right? So like, oh, and brands started collecting Twitter handles and matching it up with email addresses and stuff like that. And it turned out that like this wasn't the best avenue for marketing, but that was the rage. So it's funny that you mentioned like the TikTok handles and stuff. You know, we kind of been down that road. It might come back one day, but to me, we talk about texting being personal. Yeah, my Instagram handle, like that's personal to me, right? That's personal. I'll give you my cell phone number. That's cool. You know, so we kind of went down that road, and it fizzled out pretty quickly.
Okay. The just one more thing before we move on. In my head, if I receive a text, I'm kind of thinking, and I don't know, maybe in North America and different parts of the world, there is more of a push towards SMS messaging. Do you have to sort of tailor that message slightly differently? Because in my head, when I open up a text message, I'm not expecting all the time a marketing message. So I'm just wondering if you need to be a little bit more convivial, a little bit less pushy, if there's a different kind of way of handling. And I know obviously it's truncated the amount of text you can actually send, but is there some sort of philosophy for sending a text as opposed to sending an email? Can you do one thing in a text that you should never do in an email, and vice versa?
This is kind of the interesting thing behind it, because that's a really good question, by the way. And Nathan, you know me, we've talked before. I'm going to give you a long answer on this.
That's good.
So bear with me here. But you know, the intuitive thing to say would be exactly what you did. Is like, hey, it is a little more personal, right? You have fewer characters. You have 160 characters, a little bit more if you add an image in there that expands it out a little bit. But the thought would be it's more personal. We should be more friendly with them in the SMS message. And based on the brand, that is still doable. I think you have better success making your text message a sales message, right? You might be, if you've got their birthday, right? You could have a birthday text message that just wishes them a happy birthday, or something like that. But you're better off sending a marketing message via text. I think you have a little more runway to send a informational email. Think about, recipes or, again, birthday messages there, but there's a lot more how-to. You have that leeway in the email where I think people can open it, they get some benefit of it, or they just read it. A lot of times you'll get these around the holidays. Hey, letter from CEO. We just want to wish you a happy holidays. I think in a text, like, hey, happy holidays. There's 15% off. Click the link, right?
Yeah,
and I think you're good there.
Punchy.
So
Yeah.
And it's the whole marketing mindset of like, hey, just tell them what you want them to do and ask them to do it, right? And I think that's where SMS kind of plays in.
So we've kind of established that email is not going away. It's ever since its inception, it's been there, and it's a big part of the work life. And honestly, any prediction that it's going away always seems to be destined to be a failure. SMS, the same. I'm checking my SMS all the same. But given that they're stalwarts and they're there, has anything changed in the more recent past? So over on the little bullet points that we've got, I've written, or rather you wrote down, 2023. I'm guessing that we probably need to get into that conversation. What are the latest things that people are up to? The latest trends, even if it's just a small tweak, it might be an interesting thing to hear about.
Yeah, so I would say one, I'm going to jump around a couple different slides here, but if you're looking at this slide, I would say that the big kind of overarching umbrella here is the point number 2. It's about automation, right? And we see this kind of across channels, and there's reasons for it. So I'm going to jump around slides a little bit. The one thing we're seeing across all channels, SMS, web push, which we haven't talked much about, it's still an up-and-coming channel, but we sent more web push messages than SMS last year. But you look at the growth of these channels, right? So the growth in the email is the same thing here. We're seeing year-over-year growth on the email side, just as we are SMS and web push. And what that tells me is these are all opt-in channels, meaning brands or customers have to say, yep, here's a piece of information, or let me click a button and tell you, yes, I want to receive marketing channel or messages through these channels from you. It's a lot different than social media. People expect social media brands to market to them on those channels. It's fine. I mean, I click on ads on Instagram, so it's not a bad way to do it. But the one thing there is you're not going there for the ads. Like, I'm opening email from a brand. I'm looking for the promotion. I'm looking to see what they're giving to me. And I think that's one difference here. And brands are coming through and they're going, you know what? We're getting good open rates. It's still driving sales for us. Why don't we hammer on this thing, right? It's more cost controlled. You know what your monthly cost for the most part is for these channels, where your ad spend might fluctuate up and down on meta channels or TikTok or whatever. So I think that's the value there. So that's the one trend. And here's the email marketing side, right? So again, growing up year after year, you can just continue to see, gas on the fire here.
Sorry, just to be clear, on the chart, so we've got 2020, we've got 19 to 20, 82%, 20 to 21, 63%. So is that on top of the previous year's 82%?
The previous year. So these are all
every time it's a
growth.
positive integer, it's bigger than it was the previous year.
That's 100% correct.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so it really is going. Wow, like the clappers. That's pretty intense.
So people go, well, it's declining every year. And I'm like, no, those numbers are getting big, right? It's laws of kind of constrainment or whatever. It's like your growth is gonna go smaller because your numbers are so much bigger, right? So
yeah,
it's taking a chunk there. So the other thing, and this is the big thing along with sends, right? We send more. We're going to have more people that maybe click on it, more people that convert off it. So our orders will theoretically increase as long as we're doing it well, which we do see as well across all channels. But the thing here is look at the automation. So those bottom two kind of highlights there. It's the percentage of orders coming from all these channels from the percentage of automated sends. And automated sends make up a fraction of the number of sends here. So SMS is probably the biggest one. 26% of all SMS orders came from automated SMS sends. That total number of SMS sends is 13% of the yearly volume. Push messages, it's a much bigger gap, right? A lot of orders, fewer number of sends. Email is probably the biggest one here. So I'm on the wrong one. So look at the chart on the right-hand side there. Mm-hmm. Last year, We sent 23 billion marketing messages, Omnisend did.
Great.
And 41% of those orders came from automated messages. It was 2.5% of all sends we sent. So that 2.5% of 23 billion, I don't know what that number is off the top of my head.
Still a lot.
But it drove almost half the orders. So like this is something we're seeing go up year after year. And when I was consulting clients 10 years ago, and this was always part of my strategy consulting them. I say, if you can get between 20 to 40% of your yearly sales on automated messages, I didn't care how many sends that was. I said, you're doing pretty well. You've got a healthy program there because it reduces your reliance on having to create additional campaigns. And these are things that all just run in the background, right? They are automated based on user behavior. So for anyone that maybe is not as familiar with what automated sends are, there's just behavior-based messages. I sign up for an email program. I get a message that automatically sends to me. You abandon a shopping cart. We're all familiar with that, so we're probably doing it to try to get a discount code. Browser abandonment, birthday mess. Like these are all one-to-one messages that you set up the automation, runs in the background. The reason they are so effective is they hit people at high intent periods. So why do people sign up for email programs? A lot of times it's maybe new to the brand, something took them there, but a lot of times it's to see if they get a welcome discount, or maybe you promised them a welcome discount and they are in a shopping mindset. Cart abandonment, we know they're shopping for something because they put items in their cart. Browse abandonment, right? Those is kind of your online window shoppers. They're on your website. They're checking something out. Something in their life took them there. They never carted a product, but you know they're there. So you retarget them, and those things are just as effective. So, the chart to the left, you don't need to study that one. The very top line is the conversion rate for campaigns, and how we calculate it. That is just orders divided by email sent. So how many you're sending. So conversion rate, 0.07% for a manually scheduled campaign. The very worst automated message you can send is outperforming that one, right? So if brands are looking to increase sales and they're looking to do it with the least amount of effort possible, but they can do it strategically and provide a better experience, automation is the key there, whether it's SMS, push, email. Like that's the golden goose right there. That's what you want to be doing.
So can I just ask you some questions about this?
Yeah.
So firstly, on the graph on the right, or the chart on the right, you're saying that in 2023, 41.4%, obviously this is across your platform, so we don't know about specific stores or anything like that. 41, let's call it 41% of all orders that were tracked came through a piece of automated, a campaign of automation, whether that be SMS. Oh no, in this case, it's email. It came through some email automation thing. So the contention there is just spraying out a normal email that's not bound to any kind of trigger or event is probably not the best way to do it. The best way to do, well, obviously you can do that, but you're going to see a significant uplift in your revenue stream if you think carefully about setting up email. And the red line on the left-hand chart is the age-old, let's make up a campaign, send it out one time, and that just doesn't work. It's falling flat. The other ones, all of the other green lines, which all, 10x the red one, the campaign one, plus, in some cases like 100x or something. These are automated ones where there's something going on which the customer hooks into. There's a reason to open that and interact with that, right?
Yeah, you got it, 100%. So I love throwing 100% because we're talking about statistics here. I should probably change my nomenclature there, but that's exactly right. Right. So you could be smarter about how you market to people by relying on their behavior. Let them interact with you and your campaigns. So your manually scheduled ones that you create the campaign, send it to your whole list or whoever you want. Right. You can reduce the reliance of that if you are driving more sales through behavior-based ones. It's an important story to tell as well, because it doesn't mean scheduling like your batch and blast or even segmented messages are bad. Kind of how I like to reframe this a little bit and say, like, automation's your new segmentation, right? So segmentation, I think for a lot of brands, especially smaller brands, is hard to do on a consistent basis, right? So we have segments pre-built in everyone's Omnisend account. If you want to use it, You don't have to create the rules, which sometimes is a time-consuming thing. You click, copy, and you're ready to use it. But if you have 4 segmented sends a day, right? Generally, you need 4 different email creatives. You need 4 different, schedules, possibly subject lines. I mean, that's easy enough. But the creatives, it becomes very time-consuming, which is why some brands do it sometimes, but not all the time. I say automation is a new segmentation because you kind of create that copy one time. You can make custom differences in there with like name tags and stuff like that, but you don't need to. But you're populating, say, abandoned carts or coupon codes or whatever you want. But they're segmented messages. They're always relevant for you. So that's why I always say automation is a new segmentation. It makes it doable on a consistent large-scale basis.
It's kind of interesting because obviously not all of the automations are going to land with all the people. That whole thing of, some of the people all the time, all of the people some of the time, but none of the people, not all of the people all the time, whatever. But some things definitely hit with me, and I can spot the pattern, and it works. Something arrives, and I won't bore you, but there's this one company. Basically, every time they send me this type of thing, I interact with it. I'm just a sucker for it. So I don't know if they're just like figuring that out and thinking, okay, Nathan, every time we send him this, he does something. Let's send him more of this. But other things that they send, not so much. But some of them definitely resonate, and it's totally automated. There's nothing human about this, apart from the fact that it was set up in the beginning. But it's completely automated. It shows me the things that it knows that I'm interested in, and very often it gets me to open my wallet when I didn't want to.
So that's the crazy part about it, right? It's finding your niche, and you're right. Not everything is going to work. Even cart abandonment messages, right? People price shop, they go somewhere else. Sometimes they use it as a wish list, and even if a wish list, because it's easier on your site than the other one, but they buy there. You can't stop that. The goal is to recapture as much as possible, and that's where you're at. So to your point, I'm going to try to blow your mind here, Nathan.
Oh, I'm ready. I've got a hat on to keep it all in.
All right, here we go. So this is the follow-up directly on your point. You're kind of, this like a shill for you. You kind of queued me up. They're not all created equal. And some of these are going to have a lot more sends, the pure number of sends, and other ones. We kind of skew those metrics a little bit. So let me transition to the next slide here. 3 messages, all those automated messages, right, or automated sales, that 41% of all email sales last year that came from automated messages, 88% of those sales came from 3 messages.
Oh, okay.
Cart abandonment, browse abandonment, welcome messages.
Yeah, we saw that on the chart, right? The previous chart.
Yeah, that was conversion rate, right? They were the 3, I think the 3 highest conversion rates probably.
Yeah.
So these 3 did have the largest number of sends disproportionately. So some of that is made up there. But these are the ones where I talk about high intent. You're high intent when you're signing up for an email program. You're high intent when you're abandoning a shopping cart. You're high intent when you're shopping, right? If you're in a store in a mall and you are there browsing products, that's why they have salespeople in the mall, right? Or salespeople in stores, because there is an intent there, whether purchase from you now, purchase from you later, or purchase from someone else. They're shopping for something. So why I show this is, one, they're not created equal. It doesn't mean you should ignore the other ones, because things like even order confirmation, shipping confirmation messages have extremely high conversion rates, and they drive orders. This I always point to, like, this is your blueprint. This is your roadmap. Don't know where to start. Don't know where to optimize. These are the 3 in whatever order you want to go from. I would do like welcome and cart as your first 2, use browse as your third, but like, this is it. Like, this is your roadmap for how do we get the most revenue or the most amount of sales, or improve our program with the least amount of effort, and where do we start? Oh, here you go. This is where you start.
So this is about tying in the case of Omnisend, this is about tying the Omnisend plugin into the WooCommerce store and creating triggers which result in some kind of message being sent, whether that's email or SMS or whatever it may be, which correspond to, in the first case, when somebody signs up. So if a user enters their email address and signs up to your store, stick them in some kind of automated sequence, decide for yourself what that says and what it looks like. But that is going to give you a good return. And we'll skip the middle one for a moment. And the cart abandonment one, I guess, is obvious, right? you wanted it, you press the buy, you press the add to cart button. I mean,
just don't finish it.
There is no signal out of, well, I suppose purchasing it is a signal, but I get those email all the time, and sometimes they work. A proportion of the time they'll work for me. And then the product abandonment. What's the difference between product abandonment and cart abandonment? Is it just cart being the whole lot and product being just one thing at a time?
Yeah. So browse abandonment and product abandonment. I think you might have misspoke there. I just want to make sure I talk about the right thing.
Sorry,
so So we track these separately. I lump them together because they're just different strategies. It's exactly what you said, Nathan. Browse abandonment it's just how you set it up, right? So, hey, let's target anyone who's visiting our categories of men's shoes, right? And you can trigger that off. It's going to be more generic of a message, but I was checking out men's shoes, and you trigger a message off about men's shoes to me. Product is just that. It's a specific product you set up. So, Nike size 13s of this particular brand or this particular style. And once I hit that page, you can then trigger it off. It makes the message a lot more relevant because you can put product information on there. It's like, hey, did you know how, I'm not a sneakerhead, so this is probably the worst example I could give.
Me neither.
But like, hey, did you know the new Air Jordans are made with XYZ comfort technology? And you can like go through the actual product and provide that stuff, where browse is going to be more generic. Hey, here's our top selling, men's shoes of XYZ category or whatever. So different strategy.
The interesting thing that's coming out for me here is that you've got to be fairly granular. Although the welcome series, I guess, is fairly formulaic, and you could go through that and make that more or less the same for everybody. But the browse product and abandonment, I guess you can get fairly granular. You just said there it's a size 13 thing in this particular color. You can really drill down and hopefully not get too creepy, because I guess if you get too specific, maybe people are thinking, this is a bit strange. I'm getting followed around over there. But yeah, the idea being to be thoughtful, clever. Write the emails so that they sound like they come from your brand, not just nicking some template off the internet, which is probably not going to work. Okay, so that's interesting. 88%. Where do we go next from here then?
All right, so this is the one. Before we switch over, I'll give you the one pushback that I used to get all the time. I still hear brands say it to people, or if I talk to someone, they'll say it to me. With browse abandonment specifically, or product, same thing, we'll lump them together. So they'll say exactly what you said. I don't want to annoy my customer. I don't want them to think I'm following them around.
Yeah.
So my response was always, well, you're still going to email them, right? I think, and they go, well, yeah. And I said, are you segmenting your emails to target just that person? Like, well, no. And I'm like, so would you rather send them a generic email that may or may not be relevant to them? Or would you rather send them an email about specifically what they were doing on your site like a day or two ago? Like, wouldn't that be more relevant? And then they're like, yeah, I guess so. I'm like, problem solved, right? We're good here. So
Yeah. I suppose it'd be kind of a bit weird if somebody walked up to you in a store and you were looking at, I don't know, sneakers, like you said, and the shop assistant just started generally talking about, are you interested in belts today, sir? What about underwear or anything?
Exactly.
No, look where I'm standing. Look where I am. Help me with these things, please. I guess it's a bit like that.
So it's funny. It sounds silly when you say it, but it's 100%. It's absolutely true. Absolutely true, right? And I think a lot of people don't, like, they have trouble stepping out that lane and go, well, it's online or it's on my phone or whatever. So I shouldn't think about the real life experience, but you should, as much as possible, right? Not everything's going to translate, but that's absolutely what you should be doing. Think about examples just like that, because it's going to matter more, right? Consumers are consumers, right? They like to shop for stuff that's relevant for them.
Yeah. I've got a few more questions, but if you want to just press on, that's fine as well. I can ask those in a minute.
No, fire your questions away.
Well, I was going to say, does the Omnisend platform, does it give you kind of fine-grained statistics about the effectiveness of the email that you've put together. Let's say, for example, that you put together a welcome series. Can you put together another one and A/B test it against the previous one and sort of judge? Okay, just changing the language a little bit, or adding this image that seems to have bumped things up a little bit, or it's gone in the opposite direction. Quickly go back to the first one. Is it possible to go through and tweak these personalized things with data from the platform?
Absolutely. So let me see if I can get to. Oh, I'm here somewhere. Hey, I don't know if you could do this, Nathan. The other screen I'm sharing. Can you toggle over that one?
Yeah. There you go.
And I gotta. Oh, here we go. Maybe it was just me. I was pushing the wrong arrow. So we can, right? We give you all the reporting, the data, all those things on here. So automation, I talked about templatizing things, but I'll kind of do a quick live one with you and just drag stuff around. It's going to be really ugly for you, but it kind of gives you an idea about all the things you can do.
This is Omnisend, right? We're looking at the Omnisend back end. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So when you integrate with WooCommerce, you'll be here. Automation, pretty self-explanatory. Automation. So if you click Create Campaign here, we templatize. You can customize any one of these templates here for you. You can create your own from scratch if you want, if you're really, creative. But we templatize these things for you to make it super easy. So hey, I'm pushed for time. Greg tells me I should be doing a cart abandonment series or browse abandonment series. So
yeah, we know it. We know now.
Yeah. Right. So now, boom, we provide some options for you. The beauty here is if you can mix channels in here. So I say, okay, I want a 3-message series, and then you decide later, you know what, I just want 1 right now and I'll add to it later. You can do the 3 and just delete the other nodes, right? These things. So we'll just do this here. I'll do 1 message and we'll do 3. What the heck? We'll do this one. So to create this for us, and then you can kind of toggle around. So you have your trigger up here, but to your specific example, it's like, hey, we want to test to see how these things work against one another or against previous results or whatever. So we have testing options right in here. So you can actually create just one workflow and have different messages at different timing, different content, different channels, kind of trigger off the people. So we kind of set it up for you here while the 11-hour wait. But say we just want to do this. We go, let's go, okay, let's split this. We drag that there and, we can split it based on triggers, contact properties, or you can also test. There's 2 different ways to kind of skin a cat here based on what you're doing. So let me go ahead and just delete that one. Delete no path. Okay, so now we're just going to do a 50-50 split, or you can change that if you want to, whatever you want to do. It's like, hey, we have a winner over here. We want to see if the other one, let's do 80-20, just kind of split that way.
Okay, yeah.
And then you kind of create your own different paths here. And if you ever run out of path, it'll reconnect it for you. But here's the beauty as well. If you have a slight tweak, maybe it's a subject line, or you want the exact same message at a different timing, you can always just clone your message and, do that. And now you've got 2 messages here. You just drag that thing over.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah. I see. Okay.
So, and then eventually you can loop it together, or you can just keep splitting your differences here. So, hey, we want to do the next one in 11 hours. We can always delay here. It's like this one's going to send immediately. This one's going to send at, 1 hour, and we'll see if that changes anything. And then we just loop them back in to see if that first message converts differently. So you have full customization on what you want to do. And the same thing goes for channels, right? You can, if you want to split and add SMS into one stream, not use SMS in the other one, see if it matters, your first message, you have that ability to do so. If they fall into an SMS stream and that person's not an SMS subscriber, it just skips them. It's smart enough to know, hey, we're just going to skip the contact and we'll push them over to the next email at that point. So you have complete customization on whatever you want to do. And it's really just as simple as clicking, dragging, dropping what you want to do, and you can edit your messages right in here. So, we'll do a different subject line here. Boom. Let's do it. So I hope that answers in good enough detail here.
I'm just going to ask a couple of more questions. So
yeah.
In that scenario, you were just doing a basic 50-50 split. Half the time you go down the A path, half the time you go down the B path. But instead of putting in 50-50 there, you could make that trigger almost anything, right? You could make it like, I don't know, part of the world they live in. Time zone they live in, or some kind of property that's set in WooCommerce, whether they bought something before. Are those kind of things possible as well?
You can. So the 50-50 split will be just a very simplified thing, right? So it'll be your percentage versus percentage. You do have this split option up here, which I was chatting about, which here you could do, say, contact properties. So if you have EU versus US versus Canada, right? And you have that, you can just filter it on contact properties. So in this case, if you want to say, okay, we only want our Canadian folks, but we want a 50-50 split test our Canadian folks. So it's just an extra step you do. You do contact properties, country, Canada. So you filter all those off to one side, and then you can just stick your A/B testing split in there to do 50-50 for your Canadian people. So you can see how these things can get, I say complex. I used to love doing it. I love creating really complex workflows with these. Like, to me, that stuff is fun, right? Yeah. So you could absolutely do that.
And okay, so I can imagine, like, you could easily get carried away, and that flow diagram that you've got there becomes like 1,000 different locations, and yeah, like you said, you nerd out. What about gaining the data back from it? Because obviously, there's not really much point in doing that unless you're getting meaningful data out the back end that you can examine to show to yourself, okay, Canadians in this part of the world, this part of Canada, they want sneakers all day long, but from this part of Canada, seemingly not. We don't know why. Can you inspect the data in an easy to understand way? How does it show you what it's finding out, like the A/B test that you did there?
Yeah, so the A/B test, whenever you get to one of these messages here, once you activate the workflow, you'll see metrics up here.
Okay,
so those will be your high
workflow. Okay, nice. Yeah.
Yep. So those will be your high level metrics, and then I'm going to get out of here real quick. And then if you, like, we have these segments as well. So you can have your segments built for, Canadian customers or whatever. So you can come to see how the Canadian customers in general perform the things. But once you have a workflow sending, you'll start to see some different metrics and things like that, the reporting. We do have reporting tabs as well. So you can see how we have these different workflows. It'll tell you, these will be campaigns. You have your workflow options right down here. Same thing with forms. If you have a sign up form, you can see how different people sign up for different things and the effectiveness of them. So, product abandonment is a good example. We sent 10 of them, got 100% open rate, shocking. We're driving tons of sales. So this is obviously a fake account. I'm not actually this rich.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I'd be on a beach somewhere having an umbrella drinks, Yeah. So when you go into a report, though, you'll see what it is. You'll see the contact activity on here. You'll have your channel performance. You have multiple channels, so you can toggle back and forth on here if you have those sending. And then you'll have your emails and stuff like that showing here. So this one, it was just kind of a tweak for, this is internal purposes, but you'll have everything kind of listed out in your reporting dashboard for you when you're going through these things.
I used to absolutely love setting up Google Analytics and all of that kind of stuff, but this was the killer bit. I just hated looking at the data. I could never make sense of it. And so having somewhere where all the data is really easy to kind of grapple with and really easy to understand is really helpful. I've got to ask, do you eat your own dog food here? Do you email your Omnisend customers useful emails about the data that you're capturing from the emails that you're sending on their behalf? That's a meta question.
So this past year, we did a year-end report, like a summary that aggregated off, and we sent it off to customers. So we did somewhat, right? So we did say it was the first time trying to do one of these yearly recaps for brands. And we did send it off to customers, kind of let them know what their stats were for the year. So We'll get into it more probably next year. It'll be looking a lot cooler, probably a lot more granular data in there, but absolutely.
Can I ask, on the WordPress side of things, the WooCommerce integration that you've got, is that a fairly complicated thing to set up, or is it literally a case of, do you install a Omnisend plugin and you're kind of off to the races, or is there a lot of binding the two? You've obviously got the SaaS platform here, I'm guessing. We're not looking at a WordPress plugin. Is it difficult to bind? Is this fairly simple to set up? Could you set this up if you're a WordPress a developer or a freelancer selling websites onto other people? Is it fairly easy to get their clients onboarded and all of that kind of stuff? How easy is it to set up, basically?
Couple click integrations. We've got
nice.
a built-in integration and we've got a wizard that kind of walks you through it. I'll send you a link, Nathan, afterward. I don't know if you can put it in the show notes or whatever. We actually have a tutorial video, which is recently recorded with how to do it. I think the total video might be 6 minutes, and that includes like an intro, close, and stuff like that. It's really easy.
Minutes.
So
and
plug and play.
What kind of things does it allow you to suck out of your WordPress website? What kind of data can you capture in here? Now, obviously, contact name and email address, we'll take that as a given, but what other things is it possible? You mentioned things like cart abandonment, but just give us some idea of the depth and breadth of the things that you can get into.
Yeah, so we're going to sync up all your purchase data on there. So we have, Greg purchases a pair of shoes, and next week I purchased jeans, historical data on that stuff too. We'll pull all that data into the Omnisend platform where we'll sync it to, email, SMS, stuff like that, whatever is available and opted into marketing. But we'll pull that into there. So if you want to create segments for past, jeans buyers or whatever, and it's historical data, so you sync Omnisend today, you want something from a year ago, we'll sync that data in there, right? So we'll pull all that stuff in. Any sort of attributes or special tags that you have set up as well, we can sync those things. So if you think about, maybe you have a tag for, obviously demographic data. So country code, geographical data, country code, zip code, whatever you're collecting there that kind of syncs with your store. We'll pull all that into different fields in our account too. So I don't want to say you can do everything, but all that key data that you might use from a marketing purpose that you want to sync, we can sync that stuff into Omnisend.
Okay, so basically all the customer data and sales data and all of that kind of stuff gets dragged across, and you don't have to configure a lot on the WordPress side. You more or less install the plugin, and like you said, a couple of minutes and you're done.
Yeah, more or less. There might be some specific, maybe you have some custom fields or something built in that you might have to map over. Usually the mapping is pretty easy. I'm not a developer, full disclosure. So most of it's pretty easy. There might be one or two that maybe you have custom fields for. You might need to use the API to do it or whatever, but it's all doable for the most part. I mentioned we do have 24/7 live support. So if you ever have an issue with trying to install it and you're, again, it's open to free people too. So if you just do a free account to try to install it and play around with it, no credit card required. So play around with Omnisend if you want. But if you hit a stumbling block or just have a question, just live chat us up, and we'll get your average response time is less than 5 minutes. So,
is there any use case, or as a company, do you work well with just WordPress, or is it really, are you pushing the WooCommerce side of things? In other words, so for example, I have a website, WP Builds. There's no commerce in there at all, but obviously I'm sending emails out all over the place. Would Omnisend work for me, or are you really all about the commerce side of things?
So we do have a separate WordPress plugin as well. So we've got WooCommerce and WordPress, two different plugins. You can't speak. It's great for being on a podcast. So we have different plugins there. We do have customers who are non-commerce related that use Omnisend as well. So I would imagine we'd be a good fit for you. Perfect fit, you might say. Might be use case specific, but we have plenty of non-commerce customers using us as well.
Okay, so we've got a nice introduction to the platform, the kind of things that you can do, and the fact that it works really well with WooCommerce, and you've given us at least three sort of ways to begin with your email marketing campaigns, and some low-hanging fruit that you might get there. I guess I've got to ask, what does it cost? How much does the platform cost? You mentioned there's a free tier. I don't know if we want to put that on the screen or not, because these sort of things tend to change, but you have an intuition on the pricing there?
Yeah, so it's going to be based on we have three different tiers. So we have a free, we have a standard, we have a pro. And you could toggle up. We do year-long contracts if you want. It's not our business model to give those to just everyone though. So if you say join as a standard, you're not locked in for the year. Again, just kind of the way we like to do business. Let me try to navigate out. So we're going to do it based on contact pricing. So how many active email addresses, how many email addresses you have in your system that you're marketing to and things like that. If I can, sorry, I'm on like a maximized screen here. Let me see if I can get out of here.
Oh, it's okay. I can put it on my screen if you want and share that.
Yeah, if that works. So we actually have a pricing calculator on our website. So if you go to pricing and you can actually plug in the number of contacts you have, you can change that around. And it'll tell you the pricing for, obviously, the free is free, right? But it'll tell you the pricing for standard and pro based on those contacts. And we can even compare them against like 8 other ESPs on there at the same time without having to toggle. And it'll pull those same pricing from their website. So, yeah, perfect. So if you go over to the pricing tab.
Oh, I'll click on that.
So we try to make your life easy over here. So you've got the drop down right there, right? So let's say there's one further down for SMS if you want to use SMS as well, but you can just kind of pick your tier and the pricing changes. So that'll be for us. And if you scroll down, I think the pricing calculator will be lower. Or I'm sorry, the comparison.
This one here.
This one here.
Am I in the right spot? Don't know if you can hear me anymore.
SMS, it's there somewhere.
There we go. That it?
Oh, where'd you go? There you are.
I'm still here. Just
I
refresh.
lost you for a minute, and now my audio issues are back.
He's having fun. Well, I'll just go through the top line pricing. I'll come back to this SMS one in a minute because hopefully Greg's audio will be restored. Greg, just refresh. There's my refresh symbol. Yeah. So it looks like if you have a very small email list of under 250, it's going to be $59 per month if you're on the Pro plan, or you can get it for free, or you can go at the standard plan at $16 a month. Obviously, that's going to rise incrementally. Let's go in at about 1,000 or something like that. Let's see what that gives us. So if we're going in anywhere between 500 and 1,000, we're looking at $20 a month for the standard and the $59 for the Pro. And you can obviously figure out for yourself what the differences are. And then right down at the bottom of the page, we had, where's it gone? We had the SMS calculator. Okay, so I guess we put in how many SMS messages we want to send. And then it'll tell us if we're in the US of A, SMS messages are going to cost in the region of $15 for up to 1,000, something like that. Can you hear me now, Greg?
Yeah, I got you back. I don't even know where the sound was coming from at that time.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm quite good at just rabbiting on if anything happens. So I got you back.
New speakers here.
Yeah, that's fine. I explained the pricing as far as I could see it for the email marketing campaigns, and now I was just drilling into the cost per SMS if you go for 1,000, say something.
So the pricing comparison calc, did you find that? It is brand new, by the way. We just rolled that out a couple of days ago. So
maybe
it's on there.
Tell me, scroll. I'm scrolling. Pricing comparison. No, maybe I'm in a part of the world where that hasn't arrived. Maybe I've got a cached version of the website. I didn't see it.
I bet if you, it's probably on the maybe on their features. But if you, you know what? Go to resources and tools. So resources,
Tools Hub.
Yep. Might be there.
Okie doke. Wow, you've got a lot of neat tools. Look at this. Here it is. Use this
Pricing
tool.
comparison. There you go. Yeah, so we've got subject line generators, subject line testers. So if you're struggling with the subject line.
Can I just go back to that? I want to just look at those. They look quite cool. So what have we got here? All these really cool resources. Subject line tester. Subject line generator. Oh, the AI. There had to be some AI somewhere.
Always, right?
Everything has gone AI. Actually, that would be a whole other webinar. We could probably talk about emails and automating it with all of that good stuff. Return on investment email calculator. SMS length calculator. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Price comparison, which we're going to look at in a moment, and product description generator. Oh, again, more AI. Lovely. And then let's go over to the pricing comparison. You're obviously putting yourself up against some of your competitors. But sorry, I interrupted. Carry on.
No, 100%. No, this is great. Keep going.
Okay.
So here's a great one, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. Plug in your number of contacts, select however many of those competitors or other ones you want to use, and we'll compare similar price or similar plans for you.
Oh, okay. So it gives so this is a great way to understand if the pricing structure for Omnisend works for you. Head in over here, and I guess there are some areas where you're going to win. There are some areas where your competitors might be cheaper, but at least it gives you an idea, right? That's kind of nice. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so you're going to find all of this at Omnisend. Do you know what? I've been typing the word Omnisend about 100 times in the last few weeks, and I never spell it right. I always put an N where an M should be, but it's Omnisend, not on me send, which is what my fingers do every time. Omnisend.com, OMNISEND.com. We're kind of at the top of the hour, so we probably need to knock it on the head. But there are a couple of things that came in right at the beginning, actually, but I've left them until the end because they didn't seem to fit in with what we were talking about at the time. But here we go. Let's just get these mentioned. So Mr. Kozlicek, I'm so sorry for butchering your name. Facebook leads ad plus Omnisend automations equals great pre-launch warm-up for a Kickstarter campaign. I'm setting one up for a client right now. Nice. Actually, a lot of the audience for this podcast are people who have their own WordPress agency. And so knowing that Omnisend is a useful tool that you could, I guess, sort of resell in a way, if you know what I mean. You could do that heavy lifting for them, understand how the platform works. That's good to know. Thank you for sending us that. Anything you want to add to that one before I give you the next one?
So we do have an affiliate and a partner portal, a program like most other companies do as well. So any agencies out there that bring new clients on, you can get a little referral bonus on those things as well. So nice. Always nice, right? Money's good.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah. And then Black J's 13. Okay, so this is a question. How does I don't even know what these things mean, but here we go. How does Omnisend handle A2P 10 DLC for its SMS marketing feature? Does that mean anything to you?
So it does to some degree. I don't deal with the specific integrations there and the specific kind of nuances here. We also use Twilio to send our SMS. If you contact the support, we'll take care of you. We handle all that stuff for you. So
you do use Twilio, but you don't need to concern yourself with that. If you're a customer of Omnisend, all of that pain is taken away. You just sign up kind of thing.
Yep. So I would advise you, because I'm not going to give you 100% best answer on this one. I'm just going to admit where I fall short with our stuff there. If you go and just ping our support, if we have a knowledge base, you can Google Omnisend knowledge base, which walks you through exactly all this. If you want to read it real quickly, you can always contact our support and just copy paste the question in there. They'll take care of it for you. But we use Twilio to send ours, but use the knowledge base too. Super easy for you, but we'll answer that question for you.
Nice. Well, Greg, I've enjoyed that. There was a little introduction to me, at least, of the back end of Omnisend. I've got more of an intuition of how it works and what it does, and some good ideas. If I had a WooCommerce store, I'd have some intuitions as to what to do next. I appreciate you chatting to us today. Where do we find you if we want to contact you? Email address, as we've been banging on about, or Twitter account?
I'm on them all. So email is simple. It's Greg, 1G, Greg, at omnisend.com. So pretty simple. I am on LinkedIn. You can find me easily. I am on X at What's Greg Doing.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
I just hit my, I think, 14th year anniversary on there. I got an email or tweet thing the other day. So I'm kind of wherever. If you find anyone on LinkedIn that works for Omnisend, feel free to approach them. We are all very friendly people. We'll answer your questions. We'll direct you to whoever, if we can't answer them, to whoever can. So I'm an open book. Feel free to reach out to me. I invite you. And we're around. So let us know.
Yeah, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your time in your fabulous office. And I appreciate you sticking with me during, even with all the technical gremlins. Who knows why they happen, but they happen. But I appreciate you.
Pretty sure they were on my end.
Oh,
so, yeah.
It's not.
I'll take the blame for it.
Yeah, I'll take some of the blame. But for now, Greg from Omnisend, thank you so much for chatting to us today. I really appreciate it. Take it easy.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it.
No worries.